6. And can you pull that up here?
He's doing the 5100.
Oh, sorry, 5100. I'm dumb.
I just wrote you.
Sorry, it's all over the place here. And what kind of instruction is it? 5100. Up now, right? B1, B2, and B5, I believe. Actually, I think I put all the PowerPoints in one. Did I put them all in one? B2, B5, and I think I had a B1 on here somewhere. Or I was missing B1. All right, so here's B1 right here. Okay, are we ready to rock and roll up there? All right, we're good. Go ahead and start.
Ready. Everybody hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you.
I can't really see hands raised or anything, so yeah. So, hey, good morning from here. So, good afternoon there. My name is H1 Hill, calling from NMRTC 29 Palms. I'm glad that you're going through this program, and I wish you all the best of luck on this upcoming exam, okay? All right, so we'll be going over Opnavinst instruction 5100.19 Echo. All right, which is Navy Safety and Occupational Health Program Manual for Forces Afloat, Chapter B1. So when you're looking at your bibs, I know at least I did when I was younger and looking through, I would go straight to the Opnav instruction, but not really focus on just the chapters. I read everything, right? So you want to focus on those specific chapters that they ask because that's where your questions come from and any relevant information. But I want everyone else to know that when you're looking at these slides, maybe everything on this slide won't be in your exam. It might be another publication or something there. So don't ultimately just rely on the slides when it comes to your exam. Please review the publications. They're there to assist you as well. All right? Next.
Oh, shit. Right when that happened. All right, hold on one second, guys. Gotta love Microsoft Teams. Perfect timing, huh? All right, when it starts, time's out.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, told you I was going to time out. Now you should be full to go with no interruptions. And
yep. I'm just waiting on it to pop up.
There we go. You see it now?
I see it now.
All right.
All right, so first things first. There are 3 categories of asbestos work that can be performed aboard a ship. All right, so Navy Sea Systems Command cannot definitively establish that ship is free of asbestos containing materials. All right, so anytime that you usually see who's in charge of what or who's to reference for these things, that's something that you might want to point out or know for your own knowledge and know for the exam as well. So all ships shall implement and maintain an asbestos management plan. COs, they ensure that all required resources and personnel are assigned to accomplish this plan. Any ship whose keel was laid prior to 1980 will be considered to contain friable or freeable asbestos thermal systems insulation and shall therefore maintain an ERAT, so Emergency Asbestos Response Team. Next. So asbestos is a fibrous mineral that is a known health hazard. Inhalation of asbestos fibers has been demonstrated to cause at least 2 distinct disease states, asbestos and cancer. 2 types of asbestos-contained material. Friable or friable can be crumbled, pulverized, or reduced to powder under hand pressures. So that represents the most significant health hazard. So if they were to ask which form of asbestos-contained material presents the most significant health hazard, there you go. The non-friable. This form of ACM, when dry, cannot be crumbled, pulverized, or reduced to powder by hand pressure. Next.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to add whoever's still chilling here. I just want to make sure everybody gets in with that. All of a sudden, shut out. All right. And BAMPSIS. Let's pull this up.
Right. BAMPSIS.
All right, we're ready to go now.
All right. Identification of asbestos hazards. So an industrial hygienist shall survey all workplaces as part of the industrial hygiene survey. Naval shipyards. So Navy Environmental Permit units, so NAVMED permit units, and MTFs also have laboratory testing capabilities. Next. So I don't like reading everything off of the slide, but if some of it's relevant information, then I'll probably speak on it. All right. Management of asbestos in the workplace. The command shall not remove, install ACM which are in good condition for the sole purpose of eliminating asbestos. The command shall provide and display warning signs at each location where asbestos work is performed. Thanks. All right. Proper stowage and offloading of material containing asbestos. Stowage of unused asbestos containing gasket material and packing stow in double, heavy duty, 6 millimeter thickness, plastic bags or other suitable and permeable container must be leak proof and contain standard asbestos label. So handling, packaging, and offloading of removed ACM, adequately wet ACM during removal, and maintain wet, thorough disposal. Dispose of in double heavy duty, again, 6 millimeter thickness, plastic bags or other suitable and permeable containers. Must be leak tight, not overfilled. Distinctly color code all asbestos waste containers red to ensure identification.
Know that it has to be wet.
They must be
also.
red.
Wet is the key one
Say
I've
again?
seen on the test. I said make sure it's wet because that's what's on the test also. On when you're disposing of that material.
Yep. I've seen this one a few times. Environmental protection. Repair, and this was actually on, I believe, either this CPO exam or the one before. I've seen this on my E5 exam as well. Repair and removal conducted at sea greater than 3 nautical miles from U.S. shores are not subject to EPA. However, disposal of ACM upon return is subject. All ACM will be held on station disposal shore per EPA guidelines. Ships within with qualified teams to perform asbestos repair or removal may do so within 3 nautical miles of shore. Must have TICOM, IHO, so Industrial Hygiene Officer, or REC approval to determine specific emission reporting guidance. 3 nautical miles. Next. Anyone else ever seen that question before?
Yep. They also ask on who's responsible for it if it's not past that 3 mile radius. So that last point you hit on is going to be those TICOM's industrial hygiene people, right? They will list NMC, PRC, and a lot of other ones that'll sound like it's the right answer. Just know that it's going to be the industrial hygiene TICOM in charge for that.
Like they'll say something like the preventive medicine unit, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So training. All commands are responsible for training their personnel. Training should be conducted at the time of initial assignment, so upon reporting. Next. Record keeping. All shipboard asbestos records shall be transferred to a supporting shore medical activity for permanent retention as required. Supporting shore MTF shall establish a file for each ship. If the ship is decommissioned, all MTF files will be forwarded to BUMED. Each individual currently or previously working with asbestos or any other person he or she may delegate shall have access to such records within 15 days of a written request. Next.
Anytime you guys see days in an instruction, you guys need to be underlining it and starring it.
Types of asbestos work performed. 2 protocols. So ship force and emergency asbestos response team. Ship force details requirements and procedures for the repair and removal of materials that contain non-friable ACM. Then emergency asbestos response team, formerly known as 3-man emergency rip-out team, details requirements and procedures for the minor repair or removal of friable ACM. All Navy ships have non-friable asbestos. Therefore, all afloat commands shall comply with the proper protocol.
All right, hold on one moment, man. I'm just going to add these other guys. All right, here we go. I'm ready for you now, man.
So, ship's force protocol responsibilities. So, your safety officer, what are they responsible for? Ensure the ship's force personnel are trained to accomplish prescribed work and track any lab analysis records. Engineering, repair, aviation, intermediate maintenance department head shall provide proper PPE and identify personnel involved. Ensure ACM waste is collected as required and properly stored. And then your medical department shall implement an AMSP as possible or as applicable. I've seen something about the engineering spaces or engineering departments as well when it comes to preventive medicine. So please keep that in the back of your head.
So the big thing to remember about that, right? I told you about it with the potable water. When it comes to facility or equipment or providing PPE for the specific stuff that's going on within the work or building of something, it's going to be engineering. If it's coming into the testing or implementing programs for those health hazards for it, it's going to fall under the MDR. Does that make sense to y'all? Same thing when it's going between the PrevMed and industrial hygiene. A lot of times industrial hygiene is going to be associated with building up these areas for hearing conservation and whatever else, and then PrevMed goes in and does a lot of the testing of these kind of areas.
Think something like if you're at a Blue Side Command, like how we have public works departments. They're like the engineering of the department of the command. So they provide a lot of the PPE and things that we need, and the safety officer, they're in charge of different protocols as listed before. All right. So protocol for the earth. Following a float command shall maintain an earth. Any ship whose keel was laid before 1980. Any ship whose keel was laid on or after 1980 not meeting exemption. So ERT teams can provide small-scale, short-duration actions or any other minor repairs as needed. A minor repair is anything less than 3 linear feet of pipe or 1 foot of insulation on surfaces other than pipe. Medical shall maintain a list of ERT personnel in case they need to be put into the command's MSP.
So to make that make sense, if some of y'all don't know the history, when they used to build the ships up back in the day, part of their insulation is they would use asbestos before 1980. And that's why we have this program in place. And that's why we make jokes about, hey, you probably got asbestos from your exposure on the ship, or these Marine Corps buildings that have been around for 50, 75 years. It's because that's how they used to build up insulation back in the days in buildings and ships.
So the sample procedures. Restrict access within 10 feet of area. Use a plastic spray bottle to provide a mist, not a stream. Only a small sample is needed, 1/2 inch. All right, so place the sample in a 4x4 inch polyethylene interlocking seal bag and cover exposed insulation with duct tape.
The second to last bullet point has been on the test multiple times on what you're placing that sample in.
Yep. And if you've ever gotten rid of waste or anything, you usually wrap it up with duct tape.
All right, I'm going to pull up the next PowerPoint. Hold on real quick. I'm getting these people in here.
So you might get 1 or 2 questions from that chapter alone. But please focus on, like I said, on the bibs. A lot of people will just read the entire publication. Focus on those chapters that they ask you specifically.
All right. Now we're moving to B2,
All right.
heat stress.
Yep. So next up, Um,
Hold on
heat
one
stress.
second. Hold on
All
one
right.
second. I'm making sure they have the slide up here. All right, we're ready now.
All right, heat stress. So heat stress is any combination of air temperature, thermal radiation, humidity, airflow workload, and health conditions that may stress the body as it attempts to regulate body temperature. Right? To obtain accurate and reliable data on heat stress conditions, ships shall conduct heat stress surveys to record dry bulb, wet bulb, and globe temperature readings. The Navy uses either a wet bulb globe temperature meter or an automated heat stress system to measure each of the above temperatures. I know we use the wet bulb out here on our duty. Not too sure about your commands, but I would believe they do. So being knowledgeable in this stuff is very important.
Some of the ships don't even have AHSS on there yet, so they're still sticking with the WGBT. I mean, at least in our pre-com unit right now that we're with, we still don't have AHSS, and we'll just be doing the manual readings with the WBGT. Yep.
That's just a little picture illustration. All right. Conditions that elevate heat stress are operations in hot and humid climates, hence 29 palms. It's like 105 degrees right now. Arduous physical tasks, steam and water leaks, boiler air casing leaks, missing or deteriorated thermal insulation and ventilation system deficiencies. Next. In addition, other factors that reduce physical stamina and hence susceptibility to heat stress illness are dehydration, and they put alcohol, lack of sleep, illness, use of medication, drugs, and alcohol, and the presence of atmospheric contaminants such as combustion gases or fuel vapors.
It's a big reason why we have 101 days of summer training, because we all know in the summer, what does everybody like to do? Drink and party and stay out in the heat long times. All of these right here are factors that are going to cause heat-related injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that heat acclimatization popping back up again.
So I'm the CFL out here as well. We definitely comply with this heat acclimatization, right? Mainly because of these heat stress instructions that they give us. So heat acclimatization occurs gradually, usually requiring 3 weeks or more. Anyone who's been in Japan and they've noticed some of the Marine units, they have their PT. The people who's getting acclimatized to the unit usually wear white T-shirts or something signifying that they're getting acclimatized. That's for safety reasons. So COs shall establish and enforce an effective heat stress policy that ensures personnel heat exposures are limited. Review and initiate daily. Conduct an inquiry into the circumstances surrounding all heat injuries that result in unconsciousness. Keyword unconsciousness. For ships without an automated heat stress system, ensure at least 2 portable, calibrated, and operable wet bulb globe temperature meters are available on board.
So again, what I mentioned,
like H1 had just said.
So again, what I mentioned before too, right? We see the word establish again. So we're going to establish that word with the CO. And now what I want you to not get mixed up on, because you're going to get mixed up on the test, right? So it talks about initiating daily heat stress surveys, but there's a key word in there to let you know when it's the CO and not somebody else. Keyword says review the heat stress surveys, because they aren't conducting them. Who are conducting the heat stress surveys? PrevMed or the MDR on the ship, right? So don't get that mixed up.
All right. So the MDR shall submit heat stress surveys that result in reduced stay times to the CO daily for review. Provide training to divisions on heat stress health hazards, symptoms, prevention, and first aid procedures upon request. DIVO shall limit personnel exposure or heat exposure per established stay times, except as approved by the commanding officer in an operational emergency. All hands shall obtain prompt medical attention for personnel who exhibit heat stress symptoms. All hands are required to complete the heat stress training upon reporting on board or aboard.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I was telling you guys this earlier that 4 is that golden number with PrevMed stuff. I'm pretty sure the 4 hours is the fell time. Usually, that's the standard for WBGT on your workload, right?
It depends on the workload, so it depends on the space, the amount of people, the temperature during working hours, during the heightened working hours. You have to leave the WBGT and there's a whole chart.
Mm-hmm. But I think most of the time is 4 hours is like the max time they're on a rest period, I think.
No, it's 2.
2?
2 hours is your rest.
Oh, 4 hour work, 2 hour rest. Okay.
So I've never seen the calculation on the exam.
No.
However, it's good information to know. But don't just rely on what I've seen. You know what I mean? Dry bulb thermometer positioning. Hanging dry bulb thermometer shall be permanently mounted at watch and workstations throughout the ship where heat stress conditions may exist. Placement of the dry bulb thermometers may be in or out of the ventilation airstream, but must be hung at least 2 feet from any supply ventilation terminal opening. At least 2 feet.
2 feet. Put a star next to that.
Thermometers shall be hung with a non-heat conducting material such as a plastic tie wrap or string. Never hang with metal wire. If the difference between the hanging dry bulb thermometer and the dry bulb temperature measured with the wet bulb globe temperature meter during the survey is 5 degrees Fahrenheit or greater at any watch or workstation, the dry bulb thermometer is not representative of the temperature at the workstation.
Put a star next to 5 degrees and put a star next to the metal wire. I've seen both of those on the test on how you hang them and then the degrees Fahrenheit difference. What they'll say is they'll label all these different types of wires and you got to figure out which one they're not hanging it with. Do you want to move to the next slide?
Yeah, next slide. All right, so dry bulb temperature readings. The ship shall record dry bulb temperature readings when the ship is underway or when potential heat stress conditions exist while in port. And when surveying a work or watch station during the wet bulb globe temperature meter, the surveyor shall position the meter when the worker or watch stander will normally stand where the intended work is to be performed, with ventilation arranged to provide normal ventilation at that location. Next.
That makes sense, right? I see some confused looks. So you're going to put that thermometer right where the most exposure, where you're going to be standing for the longest exposure of time, or where you're normally working each day, right? Because you wouldn't be working right next to the engine and then have the thermometer all the way down at the end of the P-way, right? We want you to know what you are constantly being exposed to in that area to be able to accurately tell you what your work time and stay times are supposed to be.
Yep. So the heat stress surveyor should conduct the first WBGT measurement in the workspace after the meter has been in the space for 5 minutes to enable it to equilibrate to the surrounding area. As the meter is moved from one site to another, the meter should be at each site for 3 minutes to allow for stabilization of the first reading in the series to be taken. Ships shall use a heat stress survey sheet. So it gives you the form, Opnavinst instruction 5100/17, to record heat stress information.
Pay attention to those minutes because that has been mentioned on when you're moving it. So 5 minutes to basically get a good reading, so you're not reading it right away. It's kind of like when you're sticking a thermometer in meat. You're not going to take that first temperature. You're going to let it wait a minute until you get to the actual temp. And then for it to recalibrate, to get used to the different environment, you have to wait a total of 3 minutes.
So heat stress continued. Drink more water than satisfies thirst, but not more than 1.5 liters per hour. Right? Adequate rest, at least 6 hours of continuous sleep per 24 hours is recommended. And do not take salt tablets.
No.
And limit intake of caffeinated drinks. I know somebody's there. I can't see anyone, but I know somebody's there with either the energy drinks, the Monsters, and things like that right now. Somebody's laughing. Any questions?
All right. Site conservation.
Site conservation. All right, so devices for eyes, such as safety glasses, chipper goggles, water goggles, chemical goggles, and face shields shall be selected using the guidance provided. Responsibilities of the CO. Ensure that an effective site conservation program is established within his or her command. Place emphasis on leadership by example regarding wearing of site protection equipment. What are the safety officers' responsibilities? They evaluate the areas, processes, and equipment for site hazards if not previously evaluated. Maintain a current listing of all areas and processes that require eye protection and those that require eye wash or deluge shower facilities, and evaluate the program at least annually.
So again, like I mentioned before, your major programs are usually going to be annually. So safety, infection control, all that. And again, the keyword ensure and keyword establish are mentioned again for a CO responsibility.
DIVOs or division officers ensure that areas identified as eye hazardous are properly marked and labeled. Ensure personnel use proper eye protective devices when required. So the MDR provides personnel who require corrective lenses and work in eye hazard areas with prescription eyewear. Safety eyewear must have permanent side shields that meet the ANSI test requirements for that specific frame.
So 2 quick questions. So I'm going to do a knowledge check here. How many required pairs of spectacles? Okay, what is one of those pairs can be classified as? These. And then the last question, what is that little acronym that H1 Martinez mentioned earlier for the name of those glasses? Z187. Or Z87, not 187. Z87, right? I'm sure it's about to hit on one of these slides, but no, that is what ANSI is going to be putting for your safety glasses.
All right. Determination, designation of eye hazardous areas and processes. So determination, baseline industrial hygiene survey will make an initial determination of eye hazardous areas, processes, and eye wash and dilute shower requirements, and list them in the survey report. This one's important. Designation. The ship or construction repair yard will mark permanently installed equipment and processes that are eye hazard areas with 3-inch deck striping and a caution sign.
Alright, so 3-inch deck stripping. Sorry, we got the kiddos in the background there, man. Alright, hold on. Are you still there, Hill? He might be quieting his kids. Hold on a second.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, there you go. All right, so the ship shall provide issue appropriate eye protection and government expenses. Prescription protective eyewear, so PPE. As determined by safety officer MDR, prescription safety glasses may be necessary for some individuals. So prescription eyewear, protective eyewear should be obtained through the medical department. The eyewear prescription form, DD 771. I've seen that one multiple times. Where it's designated by the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery will be used in all services and equipment procurement. Eyewear prescription form, DD 771. Those in your medical record. All right, maintenance of protective eyewear. Personnel shall maintain personal protective eyewear in a clean and fully operational condition. Eye protection equipment should then be immersed for 10 minutes and a disinfected, rinsed, and air dried. Personnel shall immediately report lost or damaged protective eyewear to their work center supervisor. Next. Hello?
I have it on the next slide already. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see anything. It's still on the maintenance of protective eyewear.
So I moved it down. Can you see now? I have it pulled down to the next slide. Can everybody else see the next slide? Here, let me do this real quick.
No.
Alright, what about now?
Waiting on it to come back up. All right, there we go. Emergency eye wash and dilute shower facilities. Okay. So the ship shall have an adequate number of properly maintained and inspected eye wash facilities. So they are face bath or eye or face baths or primary first aid for splashes or exposures to corrosive materials. Dilute showers, primary first aid for significant splashes of corrosive to the skin or body in addition to the eyes. Next.
Do you see the next slide?
It started going and it stopped. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Eye wash station must be capable of flushing the eyes with potable water at a minimum flow rate of 0.4 gallons per minute for 15 continuous minutes. I've seen this one before.
Know the flow rate, know the minutes. 0.4 gallons per minute for 15 continuous minutes. Keyword continuous.
It's a long time. Shall have one motion, paddle or pull strap, stay open valve such that when activated, the eye wash will remain on to allow the user to hold their eyelids to facilitate flushing. Shall be on the same level, unobstructed, and easily accessible within 100 feet or a 10-second travel of the identified eye hazard.
The distance has been on the test before too. Know your distance for your eye wash stations.
Thanks. Right. The unit shall be positioned with the eye wash nozzles not less than 33 inches or more than 45 inches above the deck, and 6 inches minimum from the nearest wall or obstruction. The eye wash shall deliver tepid flushing water 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Potable water valves to eye wash stations and dilute showers shall be locked open with a metal tamper-proof lanyard and marked as W or circle W fitting. All emergency eye wash and shower equipment must be maintained through the plant maintenance system, so PMs. Clearly mark eye wash stations with a green sign with white lettering stating emergency eye wash station.
Green sign with white lettering. Put a star next to
Seen that one before. Look around your workspaces, you'll see it.
Everything else
For
is going to be dark blue on your ship. I was telling them everything else they're going to see is going to be dark blue on their test for the potable water.
For propulsion plant spaces of nuclear-powered submarines, eye wash bottles may be used in lieu of permanent or potable eye wash stations and should be readily available in nucleonic/water chemistry rooms and secondary analysis stations. And so DIVO as a work center supervisor performed the training at the time that protective eyewear is issued. So no attempt should be made to remove a particle lodged in the eyeball or wash an eye that has been cut in any way. Contact the medical department immediately.
And that finishes your presentation there, HM1 Hill.
All right. Well, thank you again, H1 I appreciate it. I hope that everyone takes something not only from this slide, but from this course as well, and take in that you'll get out what you put into it. So please put your best foot forward and study as much as you can. And I hope to see a lot of you all promote and on the list coming up. Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks, man.